Good evening, universe. Tonight I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in September, and I'm not going to be doing an October TBR because I keep doing them and then completely disregarding them and reading entirely different things instead. So now it's going to be a surprise going forward what I'm going to be reading, so that I don't feel like I'm lying all the time. Oh, I want to start with one story that I forgot to include last month. I listened to the audiobook version of Cenote. On audiobook, it's about an hour-long horror, I guess. I'm trying to get myself used to reading scarier things because I am very easily frightened by things, but I also really want to read House of Leaves. So I'm trying to like raise my horror reader level so that I can read it and not freak out. But I completely forgot to mention it in last wrap up, so I'm mentioning it now. It was fun. I liked how short it was. I think really short audiobooks are the way to go for me. I like having an audiobook that's like an hour to maybe 2 hours. I can listen to the whole thing in one go. I don't have to come back to it. I think that is what works best for me with audiobooks. So I enjoyed that aspect. I didn't find it as scary as I thought that I was going to, so maybe I'm braver than I think, but probably not. Just this particular type of horror didn't scare me all that much. It was still really enjoyable, and I recommend it if you want a quick little thrill. I did feel like the first 40 minutes or so with the build-up was a lot more intense and more frightening. There's like a reveal that happens partway through where you find out what the characters are really dealing with, and after that point I was much less frightened. I feel like for me a lot of horror has to be done with mystery, because once things are revealed I tend to be a lot less scared of them. So that's all I would say about that. It was still fun though. Alright, so the first book I read in September was The Wicked King by Holly Black. It was great. This continues Jude's story and adventures in Fairy and her quest to gain and keep power. I really liked the continuing relationships in here, how they're building and growing. Jude and her sisters versus Jude and various people in the courts. I thought all of that was really exciting and cool. However, it was a little bit intense, so after reading that I wanted kind of like a sweet, soft palate cleanser. So the first thing that I picked up after that was Princess Ever After, which was so cute. It's just this really short little picture book. It's super quick. The art style is, you know, it's straightforward. It's cute. It's about a princess who is locked in a tower and a young female knight who comes to rescue her. And the story that proceeds from then on out. It is very adorable, very light and heartwarming, exactly what I needed to read. But I still felt like I hadn't quite eased up enough to get into the Queen of Nothing. So I picked up the third book in the School for Good and Evil trilogy, The Last Ever After, looking for some lighthearted, fun fairy tale romps, and wow, was I wrong. Since it's the third book, there are a lot of really intense plot threads that come to a head in this, and like somebody dies almost immediately, and I was just not emotionally prepared for that. However, it was still very engaging and very fun. The ending was extremely satisfying to me. Like the last 4 paragraphs, I think, were one of the most satisfying endings of a book that I've read in just an incredibly long time. It just wrapped it up so nicely, so good. So that's what I felt about that. If you are looking for lighthearted fun though, this is not the choice. Somewhere amid this, I read volumes 5 and 6 of Fruits Basket. I'm loving where it's going. Character development is, as usual, awesome. I really like the new translation. I love Kiyo Soma so much. He is so great. I adore him in many ways. Don't get me wrong, I love Yuki also, and when I was first reading this, Yuki was my favorite character, but now it's been like 12 years or so since I started reading it, and I think Kyo is my favorite. I do love Toru though. All the characters are good. Read Fruits Basket. Finally, I read The Queen of Nothing. This was actually the reason that I started reading The Wicked King, because a coworker of mine just finished reading Queen of Nothing. It got her out of her book slump, and she really wanted to talk about it with me. I really wanted to talk about it with her too. That got me really hyped up to read it. So I just powered through those last two books, and this was also very satisfying. I thought this had an excellent ending. I thought everything made sense for the characters. I loved how the character arcs progressed. Yeah, I love Jude. I think she's a great protagonist. It's very full of deliciously flawed characters. And by the end, their flaws and the good things about them have carried them into really new and interesting directions. I thought it all made sense. It was very cool. There were a couple things I accidentally knew in advance from talking to my coworker friend, but that didn't diminish my enjoyment of it at all. My mom gave this to me for Christmas, and I happened to get the version with, I just realized that if I said what it is, that would include spoilers, but there's extra content in here. So I haven't read that yet, technically, but I'll probably go back and read it soon. I just felt like switching over to a couple of other things for now. I have moved up some stuff on my TBR from last month to my potential TBR going forward. But like I said, I don't want to continue to say that I'm going to read these particular books and then not doing that. So I'm just going to let you know what single book I am positive that I'm going to read in October, and that is The Tower of Nero by Rick Riordan. I am a huge Rick Riordan fan, and this is the 15th book set in the Percy Jackson universe. It is also the final book in the final 5-book series that takes place in that universe. Rick Riordan says he may in the future write like single books into the universe, but this is the last time he's doing a big series. So I'm very excited to read that. I love the Trials of Apollo series. I feel like a lot of Percy Jackson fans don't like it quite as much, or it doesn't get as much hype, but I adore Apollo. I think he's a great protagonist, and I'm very excited to see where this final adventure takes us. So that was my September reading wrap up and my not really kind of October TBR. I hope you guys had a good time chatting with me. Please let me know down in the comments what you thought of these various series and or books, if you've read them or if you plan to read them, what your expectations are. My coworker really hated the very last ending part of The Queen of Nothing. I would like to see who else did or really loved it like I did. And have a good night, universe.